back. So just got home from my 9 to 5. So what I usually do after work is eat and then grab a book to read. I usually read about a chapter a day, and then I get into coding. So here we are in Figma, and what I wanted to do is just give you guys a brief overview of this rough diagram that I made of just showing how the app is going to flow. So first things first, a user is going to enter their starting point, or they can enter their current location. Next, the user will be asked to enter their destination. And for those two text inputs, we're going to be using Google Autocomplete just to help the user fill in those fields. Then we will be making our first API call. This API call is going to fetch the user's point A to point B, and then we'll be able to display that on the screen and show the user how long it's going to take them to get from point A to point B, and also the kilometers or miles it's going to take. From there, the user will click a button to go to the next screen, which is going to ask them to enter their make, then model, then year. From there, we make our second API call just to get this vehicle's information, such as the fuel tank capacity and the miles per gallon. Next, when we make that same API call, we're going to save that vehicle's information to the user's local device. We're going to be using shared preferences for that. And the reason for saving this to the device is so that when the user wants to make another trip, they don't have to enter that same vehicle's information again. But they will have the option to delete that vehicle if they choose to. And so once we have the year and we make that API call and that is already saved to the device, we're going to make another call simultaneously to fetch the gas prices. So once we have all of the information that we need, the user will be able to see it on that screen. They will be able to see the vehicle that they are going to be using. They will see how long it's going to take in hours, minutes, or days. They will see the kilometers or miles that it's going to take, the distance that they're going to travel. And then more importantly, they're going to see how much it's going to cost them on that trip. And so once the user has all of this information, they can then start the trip. And we're going to be using Mapbox for the turn-by-turn navigation. And I just like using Mapbox over Google's API because it's cheaper. So once the user's done on that trip, they can just hit end trip, or when they arrive at their destination, they will have a nice little UI that says you've arrived. And that's basically it. All right, so I went ahead and created our basic folder structure. This is how I usually like to structure my applications when I build them. It just gives me a nice bit of separation. Everything is separated into their own little folders. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough. So we have our bindings. Our bindings is mainly going to be for initializing our controllers. And then we have our controllers, which is going to be for our getX and managing our state. Then we're going to have our models for the data, and then we have our routes, which is going to be defining our routes throughout the app. And we have our services. Our services is going to be for our API calls. And then we have our views. This is basically just the UI. And I have it separated in pages and widgets, so I can have widgets that I'm going to be reusing throughout the app, so I have that separated. Yep. And so that's basically how I like to have it built, folder structure wise. After this, I'll go ahead and start creating the first screen. And this is just the basic structure. I'm pretty sure I'm going to add some more folders as time goes on, but this is just the beginning when I like to start. Taking a bit of a coffee break right now, and I figured I would use this time right now to give you guys a bit of a backstory on why I decided to build the app. So back in 2020 during COVID time, I needed to take a trip from here to Toronto, and I wanted to create a budget on how much that trip would cost me, and a part of making that budget would be adding my fuel costs into it. So I went on the app stores, looked for an app that did basically what I was trying to accomplish. I didn't find any that did what I wanted to a T. There were a few apps that came close, but just didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. And so I was like, maybe one day I'll build this myself. And so what I did, I found the kilometers, how long it'll take me from here to Toronto. I knew the vehicle that I was driving, and so I did a bit of research and found the tank capacity and the miles per gallon. Then I found along my route how much the fuel prices were at that time, and so I did a little bit of math. I wrote it down, and then I transferred from that piece of paper that I wrote the math on to my JavaScript code and printed that output to the console, and I got basically it was about $10 off from what I actually spent during that trip, because what I did on that trip, just to solidify my idea, basically, I kept all of the receipts along every time I stopped. I kept the receipts. I kept an account for the amount of stops that I made and the actual gas prices when I did stop. And so I tallied that information up, and it was just about $10 off from what I did with code before I left for the trip. And so with that information, I was like, you know what, I will build the app one day. And it took me some while to actually decide to build it, and that's what I'm doing now. So I'm starting to build it, and it's coming along great. And I just figured I would build it for my next road trips and use it, and then maybe someone else will use it for their road trips, and you never know. So that's the reasoning for building it. So here we are with our first look at the app. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on how I'm progressing through the app build. And so this is how it looks right now. Everything is mainly UI based. There's not much functionality that has been implemented just yet. So first we have our text input fields, which will be for starting and destination points. Our map in the background, which will always be displayed on the main screen. And we have our two buttons here. One will be for selecting a vehicle, and the other will be for viewing the trip. And so it'll give you a quick overview of your trip before you actually start. And so, like, say we click this button to select the vehicle, I'll just give you a walkthrough. And so we'll be taken to the make screen. And right now we're not making any API calls. I'll do that in the upcoming videos where we'll actually get the car data information. So here we have our make, our model, and year. And once we have that information, we have this nice card, info card, that displays your chosen vehicle and the estimated time, the trip distance, and the estimated fuel cost. As you can see, I have a bug right now. This button is moving and it shouldn't be. It needs to be here at all times, but that's something I will work through. So once we have that information, we can basically see everything here, and we can clear it, because right now it's being saved to the local device using shared preferences. So we can clear it, and then if we wanted to choose a new vehicle, we can. And so here we'll be able to see, like I said before, like the preview of the trip. And so that's basically it for now. And in the upcoming videos, I will share more, such as the actual name of the app. I know I haven't disclosed that as yet. I'll give you guys that.